My next Patreon question is from Graham, who wants to know my thoughts on the recent closure of a major animation studio. Disney announced recently that they're closing Blue Sky Studios. Instead of closing it, I felt it would be better if Disney sold the studio. Who do you think should buy it? I agree with Graham that if Disney was not interested in having Blue Sky under their wing anymore, selling it to a different company would have been the best option. To be honest, I think there are multiple options Disney could have done that would not have resulted in the closing of an Oscar-winning studio with multiple hits under their belt, and yet they somehow picked the worst one. I was very upset when I read this news, because Blue Sky movies have always had a special place in my heart. I love their films for their vibrant and groundbreaking animation, their creative storytelling, and the themes of empathy. That we're being deprived of their future films is greatly disappointing to me. I know there will be people who say only Blue Sky fans are upset about this, but I've seen multiple tweets from animators and artists from all over the industry, including those at Pixar and Disney Animation, who greatly disagree with the choice to shut down the studio. Even one of the songwriters of Frozen voiced her disappointment that the rare feature animation studio on the East Coast is closing. Why did Disney not sell it to another company? I've no idea. They haven't had qualms about that before. During that brief period when DiC was owned by Disney, DiC felt they were being treated like an unwanted stepchild, and so Disney allowed them to become an independent company again. When Disney did not think they had a use for Miramax anymore, they sold the studio, and that included the library, which still puzzles me why they would not at least want to keep that. Detractors will say, oh, nobody would have wanted Blue Sky. Right. Nobody would have wanted a top animation studio that produced a number of acclaimed films, including a recent Oscar-nominated one with Ferdinand, and created the hit Ice Age and Rio franchises. I find that a little hard to believe. My guess is Disney did not even try to find an interested party. Who would have been a good home for Blue Sky? I think there are two possibilities. First, and the most obvious, is Netflix. They are investing a lot in animation and recently formed Netflix Animation, which brought us Klaus, The Willoughbys, and Over the Moon. They've not shown much of an issue spending as much money as they can on producing animated movies and shows, so I think Blue Sky seems like something they would be open to owning. The other is Sony Pictures. I know they already have Sony Pictures Animation, but with Disney and Universal having success with two feature animation studios, SPA and Blue Sky could definitely coexist. And much like Netflix, Sony has also been greenlighting a lot of animated projects. The other disappointing thing about the Blue Sky news was that the plug was also pulled on their next film, Nimona, which was 75% complete. Based on the graphic novel by Noelle Stevenson, this was reportedly going to have a unique animation style and a leap forward for LGBTQ representation. And there was a lot of internal excitement at Blue Sky about this project. And I dislike that an animated film so close to the finish line has been cancelled. It feels like such a waste of resources to do that. This is not a film that was canned during the writing or the storyboard or development stage. This is a movie that would have been ready to go by the end of the summer. If you don't want to fund the rest, Disney, at least look for a few outside investors or something. This feels so unnecessarily cruel. But this brings me to the main thing that confuses me about this whole decision. Disney Plus. It was recently announced that Disney was going to put an enormous amount of focus on growing Disney Plus and turning it into the top streaming service in the world, and basically one of the main driving forces of the company. That means they're competing directly with Netflix, and what is Netflix doing to keep and attract subscribers? They're releasing a lot of animated films. They have upcoming animated films from top talents like Guillermo del Toro, Henry Selick, and Nora Twomey, in addition to forming a partnership with Aardman. They even acquired Mitchell's vs. the Machines from Sony for a reported $100 million. Why are they spending so much? Probably because the analytics tell them that animated films are among the most watched on that platform. And according to Nielsen, the same is true for Disney+. So it's strange to me that Disney is not following the same road as Netflix and would prefer to invest less in animated films rather than more. Then you have Disney's recent decision to release Pixar's Soul and Luca direct to Disney+. Now, a large reason for this is because of the pandemic we're currently in. However, it also begs the question why they could not have just shifted Blue Sky's priorities to Disney+. Blue Sky's films tend to cost less than Pixar's, so it would have been less of a financial risk for Disney, and I have my doubts that Soul turned a profit from this release strategy. Ultimately, I think closing Blue Sky was a rare, short-sighted decision from Disney that did not realize the chess piece the House of Scrat gave them in the streaming wars. If there is a bright spot to this, it's that the directors, animators, artists, and technicians at Blue Sky are too talented to not find jobs elsewhere. And wherever they end up going, I'll be watching, and I know they'll bring that Blue Sky magic with them. Thank you for your question, Graham.